A lot of addiction issues. I was toxic relationship.
I'm over here failing as an entrepreneur. I'm over here trying to get something.
I didn't even know what the heck marketing was at that point.
Start telling yourself things that aren't necessarily true.
I never made decisions based on money because I didn't have it.
When my mother passed away, it was closing a chapter for me.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Sal Pierre, and welcome to the 7-Figure Interviews. Today I have...
Trey Lewellen.
See, I just mispronounced the name twice. I wasn't going to risk it a third time. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, man.
Now, I wanted to talk to him because I made some cooler bags, but before I get into it, I want you guys to know who he is. So can we get a little deep background about you? How did you start out?
A deep background. So I started in the insurance world, and I was getting out of the insurance world, trying to get out of the insurance world, because before that I was an engineer. And we looked at selling items, monetizing items on the internet, but we didn't know how. But we actually had a Facebook page that had, at that time, it was like 100,000 people, which was good because that was when Facebook was giving like massive page engagement.
Yeah, you got reach.
You got crazy amounts of reach.
Yeah,
like
we TikTok.
It's like TikTok. That's exactly right. So we saw the TikTok days of Facebook. Does that make sense?
Yes, totally.
And we would put a picture up on this Facebook page of a guy, and that's another story. But we put up like a Donald Duck or a duck getting shot in the air, and we'd say, what does your gun sound make? Or what sound does your gun make? In the comments, like within 2, 3, 4 minutes, it was 300, 400, 500 comments. Just crazy amounts of engagement. But we didn't know how to monetize that. And so I actually was watching a good friend of mine's webinar, Tanner Larson.
Okay.
And he was talking about how he's currently like selling these t-shirts, using these like websites. And I was like, man, maybe we could do that. And so we actually started making money online by selling t-shirts. That's how we started.
So the first thing was a t-shirt.
The first thing was a t-shirt, in short, yeah.
Let's back up for a second. What made you decide I'm gonna build a Facebook page? I'm gonna start monetizing. What was the reason, the actual reason behind it?
Yeah, there's two reasons. One, I didn't want to have a boss. I wanted to be, my own boss, right? Like I didn't know how much I was gonna love marketing and like the crave behind it, but I felt it, right? Like it started to kind of get inside my veins, right? And then the other main reason, the real anchor of the whole thing, was the guy that's off camera. So that'd be my brother Bryceland.
All right.
So we can say hi to him in a minute. But he was in law school and he was going to become a police officer. Okay. And so we're 7 years apart, and I was in college and trying to figure out this insurance thing. I see him coming up, and he's going to be this police officer. Where my worst fear, like as his mother, right, is I don't want to see him come home in a coffin. I'd rather see him be, achieving something, like be able to live, be able to be with his family, his kids that he will have later on. And
was that like a real fear for you? Like,
yeah,
he could get injured or hurt or even die.
Yeah. So
on the job?
Interesting enough, you might know this because of national news, but our city was put on national news 1 year later, maybe it was 2 years later after we started in business. So he would have been in what was called like the Ferguson. So we had Ferguson outside of St. Louis. It was pretty bad stuff. A lot of riots, a lot of cops getting, So we didn't want that. So I'm glad. Pre-2 years.
That's amazing. So you had this foresight to be like, whoa, this is a dangerous job.
It's totally dangerous. And the pay isn't worth what they have to go through. And so I was like, what if we could build something else? What if we could actually do something that you still get to be like having fun, like as a police officer? Like I asked him, I was like, well, what's the main reasons for being a cop? And he's like, well, I'd love to, flip on the lights and have a couple cool guns. I was like, well, man, I can buy you some lights to put on your car, and we can have all kinds of guns. Like I can give you the same type of achievements that maybe a police officer job would have, except without the risk. And there was about a 6-month period where he didn't believe me. Of like, are we really going to start this thing? Like, is it really going to make me money?
Yeah, it's the story. It's really. That's
exactly what it was.
We talked about this with a few different interviews. What was that like? Because I'm sure it's not just him, right? It was everybody around you that was... What was that like?
The parents didn't believe it. The family... our family's pretty small, I guess, considering... it's the same, right? They want you to... In that age, they want you to go to school, go to college, get a job, work, 40 years, retire, and die. Like, that's their mindset. That's their straight line traditional, here's how my son needs to grow up. Right, and I was on that line. Like I went to school, I went to college, I got a job. Like I was on that line. And when I said that I was going to quit my insurance gig, you know, it was a hard conversation with my family because they were like, well, how are you going to survive? How do you know it's going to be, you know, how do you know it's going to keep going? How do you know something bad might not happen in a year and then you're out of a job?
No guarantees, right?
No guarantees. And I go, well, what guarantees does a job give you?
That's true.
And they're like, no fighting that one. And so, I mean, I'm moved out of the house by this time, right? And so I'm on my own, and so I'm making my own decisions, and that's kind of how it went down. And I was on an interview with a pretty large podcast. I'm missing the name right now, but I remember we talked the same question, and he goes, "When did your dad finally believe in you? Like finally believe that?"
Yeah, when was that
turning
switch,
point,
right?
The turning point.
Yeah.
When was the turning point for your dad to be like, you know what, I think he's gonna be okay? And I was like, you know, I don't know when that turning point was, and if
Did he even actually, like, is he still worried that, hey, maybe one day you're just not gonna make any money and you're gonna lose everything? And is that still an ongoing problem?
That was the question. And so on that podcast, we called my dad live on speaker, and he asked my father that question, and my father's response was, the day that Trey drove us up to a private jet to take us to Las Vegas, I knew everything was good after that.
Nice.
And I was like, that was your turning point? Like, it took a private jet to let you know that I was going to be okay? Like, holy smokes, the ceiling was set, right? Really high.
Wow.
But yeah, so we've had that turning point, which was good.
That's awesome. Well, first of all, congratulations. What was the turning point? Like, I get it. You went the traditional route. Your brother's about to become a police officer. You start thinking, you're like, this is a dangerous situation. I love my brother. I want to get him out of that. What made you feel that you can sway him not to become an attorney, not to become a police officer, to change his route, change his stars, really, right? Because you changed his entire life by doing that, right?
Yeah, and he changed mine.
Yeah.
To think about it, like, I wouldn't be where I'm at if it wasn't for him.
I love it.
And he wouldn't be where he's at probably without me. You know, it's kind of, we dueled it up. Like, it was a dual partnership in a lot of ways. You know, that's a great question. He came to me and he wanted proof that it was going to work, right?
Like, I'm going to drop my stuff to go do this with you.
Right. And
so what was
proceed.
that like?
That was interesting because internally, I didn't know, right? I believed in me, right? I believed in what we could do. Right. But did I know that it was going to spawn into something? Absolutely not. Right? It was just hope. It was hoping is really what it came down to.
You weren't scared that maybe you couldn't reach a level of success and he would ultimately be at risk as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That was a fear.
What was that dealing like? What?
You know, I'd be lying if I said like it kept me up at night, which it didn't. But the fear was there. You know, at the end of the day, I mean. You'd be lying if you said that you don't have that fear.
Yeah, of course.
Right? Like, worst case scenario, you go get a job and you get yourself back up. You go sell something at the streets. Like, you go buy pizzas at the grocery store.
Whatever
and you go
you
sell
have
them for
to
$20
do to get it done.
On the corner, like, I'm going to go do whatever it takes to provide for me, and if need be, I'm going to do whatever it takes to provide for him because I got him in that situation, right? Like, I was the ultimate dude
you would accept responsibility.
I convinced him. Yeah, I was totally in of accepting that responsibility if things would crash. And of course, we've had our ups and downs. We've had our pushbacks and pullbacks.
I mean, that's business, right?
That's business.
What have you learned from that? Because, like, for me, you know, like I always tell students of mine and even people that I talk to, I'm like, look, there's bad and good that always happens. Mm-hmm. It's about you driving your straight line despite of the good and despite of the bad, right? Like, what is that like for you?
Yeah. You know, Tony Robbins says a really good thing. Cool thing is kind of like here at this event that we're at right now, right? But one thing that stuck with me at one of his events was you get in your head, you're dead. And I can look back and know that there's been times that I have gotten in my head, and he's right. You become dead. Like, you start making up these stories, and you start telling yourself things that aren't necessarily true, but your brain takes you away from danger. It's trying to pull you away from what society wants to be the right way, the correct way of what they say, right? We as entrepreneurs, we're going against
we're risking daily, right? Like, daily at risk.
A lot of risks. And it's just really becoming comfortable busting through layers as you grow and as you shrink. Like, we've had great ups, we've had big downs, and we've stayed on track to, you know, keep growing as we scale back, as we grow forward, and just learning from the mistakes that we've made, right? Like, the biggest advice I'd give you is is, set yourself with mentors. Mentors who are doing the things that you want to become or who you want to be. Like those are the mentors you need to go seek out. The people who are actually doing what you want to be doing, right?
Sure.
Like that's the number one key. And the other key to that is not one mentor is going to give you the 100% solution. Does that make sense?
That makes total sense.
Like I've had over probably now 10 mentors over the last 7 years that I have gone to and learned from. And each one, like I get a little piece, right? A little piece of the puzzle. Right, I've had mentors like Jay Abraham, Russell Brunson, Tanner Larson, Carl White, Perry Buck. The list goes on. The list is huge. Right. Did one of those guys like show me how to become a success? Did they make my millions? No.
But it's pieces from all of them.
Of the mentors.
And the way you translated it to yourself and your life and your journey, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You put the pieces together and you're building your own life puzzle.
I love that.
Right.
I love that. I love also the brother you love. I mean,
it's huge.
That's amazing. No, really, cool. Because for me, I don't do anything without my family. Like I came here, I brought my kids are with me, my wife is with me. Like even though I'm doing all this stuff, like I think that family and I talked about Kevin Stephen just was here. We talked about that specifically. We said, hey, it's about family. It's about the time that you have. So the fact that you two get to spend that time together, that's amazing beyond any financial thing. Yeah. So I love that. All right. So now that you figured out the Facebook thing and you're like, oh, this is gonna work. You're getting that engagement. What was your thing? Like you started with T-shirts. You were like, we'll just say whatever the hot comments is. What was your kind of approach to that?
That's exactly what it was. Yeah. We looked at what the comments were, what they were saying. We slapped it on a shirt, and back then that was 5-6 years ago. Now that's exactly how it went. We had one that went really well. It said, "Rock out with your Glock out." Nice. And that was a top seller. There was rock, paper, what was it? No, Glock, paper, scissors, right? That was a big one, right? It was like Glock and then paper, scissors. That thing screamed sales. It was so cool. And there'd be ones that were duds, right? That like totally just sucked. There was cease and desist letters that came. There was legal things that came.
How did you deal with that? Because those are like real business problems that people will deal with regularly.
Oh yeah, we cried up Glock, crying our eyes out. We're like, don't sue us. Like we're just two little kids like trying to have fun and make $1. Like I don't know why you're sending these letters. Like we'll never say your name ever again. They're like, oh okay, cool. We'll call off the Bears. Like that's how we dealt with it, right? Like we were playing, we just didn't know. We didn't know we were going against legal terms because we couldn't realistically afford an attorney to tell us that we're doing bad things. And that's how we dealt with it at the end of the day. Now, what the next question is why don't you still sell T-shirts, or are you still selling T-shirts?
Yeah. What happened? Why did you transfer away from selling T-shirts? I think that's your next thing, right? Like why did you stop selling T-shirts and start going into a different direction? What was the cause of that?
That's exactly right, and that's a great cause. The biggest cause was, so our page is big. Right now it's like 200,000 people just growing.
Unlimited reach. They give you 200,000 person reach.
It was ridiculous.
I know.
It was ridiculous. I wish we had those days. Now we have TikTok.
So now go,
right? Go. Monetize. But right now with Facebook at that time, right, that was it. And we were putting these shirts out, and we're like, oh, we got a good one. Like this one's going to be a great one. And it would like start to slowly like just not sell. And we started reading the comments. The comments are always the key to why sales are happening or why sales are not happening.
I think Russell talks about that, right? Constantly listening to your audience.
You have to listen. You have to have an ear on, right? Your sales department knows exactly what's wrong with your product, right? Because they're always on the customer. They're with the customer. Your customer service knows exactly what's wrong with your product and your company. We would have meetings with those guys to learn what we need to do differently, but we didn't have that at that time. So anyways, back to the story.
Yes.
So T-shirts, comments are saying, hey man, love this shirt, it's fantastic. My wife says I just can't buy anymore. T-shirts, my closet is full of your guys' T-shirts. Oh, wow. So what we're seeing and what we're reading is we've given these guys so much great T-shirts that they have literally loaded their closets up with T-shirts that they're saying, I can't buy anymore. Yeah. I got enough for weeks. Like I don't need to do laundry for at least a month because I've bought every single one of your T-shirts because they're so great.
Love it.
And I'm like, what do we do now? Because all we know is how to sell T-shirts.
Yeah.
And thank the Lord, Russell Brunson came to save us. He was with ClickFunnels.
Yes.
And came in and we started selling products. In fact, fun fact is I believe, and what I've been told, is we are either the third or like somewhere under 100 person to sign up for ClickFunnels.
Oh,
and we
wow.
were still a ClickFunnels
So
member
very,
today.
very
We were
beginning.
because I was desperate. I was that dude looking for a resource.
Anything that can
and
help.
he comes up, I'm like, boom, I'm in. Like 14-day trial. I know I'm a lifer. Like I'm in if this works. If this is what it says, if you give me what you say you're going to give me, I'm in. And we proved that, you know, over the next course of the years, of course, that we did use ClickFunnels and we still do. To this day, our whole company runs off of it. But we started selling physical goods, physical products. And how we did it was what's called arbitrage. And we started looking for items on Amazon that were, you know, items
Hot
that
sellers.
not necessarily hot sellers, just sellers that were like in our market, right? In the gun world.
Okay.
Like what's selling online or on Amazon that's kind of in our space. And I remember picking up this tin sign off of Amazon. It was $11. And it said, due to rising ammo costs, no warning shots. There will be no warning shots. So meaning you're going to get shot, right? If you come across this property line. And we whipped up a real quick ClickFunnels page, and I put that same metal sign, which cost me, I think, $11 or $6 on Amazon Prime, of course, on our website for $12. And I sent it over to the Facebook, you know, pages, and I was like, hey guys, we got this really cool sign. It's gonna be amazing. Like we just got 100 in or something like that. And of course, I went to Amazon and pushed 99999 on purchase order, and they say, oh, sorry, we only have 126 in stock. And so that's a little secret. And so that's how you know how much inventory Amazon has, so I know how many I can sell. So now we got sales just coming in for this little tin sign, and that was when the big epiphany came. It's like, holy smokes, we can arbitrage through Amazon where somebody has already gone and spent the money, right, invested in a product. We can test it simply by putting an order form up, doubling the rate of what we charge for it, and seeing if it sells. And if it does, great, we can import it from China. If not, no money.
Move on to the next thing.
Move on to the next thing. No money lost. And so thank the Lord for Amazon sellers, because those guys have made us, right, a business. Because they're out investing in all these little inventory items, and we're going out and nitpicking stuff, seeing if things work, testing, put it in a little petri dish, see if it tests, see if it's good. If it's great, boom, we roll with it. If not, we discard it.
And then you go and you manufacture it for yourself if it
then we
obviously is a
manufacture
winning
it.
product
Absolutely.
for your market.
Yep,
Love it.
that's exactly how
I
we do
love
it.
it. So what is the next thing? Like what is now that you've kind of figured out that system, right? You're listening to your customers, you know your wheelhouse, and you're finding and you're doing this arbitrage with Amazon and different, I'm sure you use eBay and other sellers
Yeah.
as well that are good.
Yeah.
What is now kind of like the thing?
So, well, then what happened was what we're known for, right? A big like explosion happened in our market. We just happened to put this. Well, actually, this is what really happened: is we found this flashlight. We put it on our website on this nasty looking order form, and we sold it for $12. We got on Amazon for $5, so we made $10 or made $5 off of it, right? And it sold like a little bit and kind of cool to our email list. And our email list was like maybe 5,000-6,000 people at that time. Cool, kind of was like, this might work. So we went and did our own thing, you know, brought 100 in from China, and for some reason, we either couldn't get it to sell or got discarded or like we're working out of our house. So I just kind of put it up in my closet. So I have 2 boxes of these nasty green box flashlights sitting in my closet. There's a spare room, and inside that same closet is my remote control car and a remote control helicopter and an airplane. So that's a little hobby I do on the side. But the
RC
boxes
stuff.
came first, and then it's all the cool stuff, right? And I was always just upset because I had to put these stupid boxes out of the way to get out my RC stuff to go have fun. And I remember one day just being so frustrated, I was like, Bryson, we just need to sell these things. Like, let's just, I don't care, let's just like sell it, whatever. Let's do the little funnel again, like pop and roll, rock and roll. So this was almost something that never happened. But because it was in the way, it
happened.
It became
a
new
necessity.
It became a new vertical in the entire industry of internet marketing. So we put up the little order form page, and 100 went out. Like, it was sold. We couldn't throw them in a box fast enough. We're like, wow, this is cool. Well, I don't know why it's happening now, but it's working. And so I was like, well, maybe we should order more. And he's like, no, we're not ordering more. I was like, maybe we should order more. Maybe we should, I don't know, should we? And so we kind of went back and forth of like doing this. And so we actually started arbitraging them from Amazon, because we're selling them for $12. We can get them on Amazon for $5. And I got every uncle under the book on Amazon Prime. Did you know that you can have like 1,000 aunts and uncles on Prime until they like delist you?
Oh, I was not.
That's what we found out.
Okay.
Because we're using our Prime account to ship these flashlights out,
Right.
and we're selling for 12, buying them for 5. Like, no one knows the difference. Like, we're just making money. Now, one day, I was like, how cool would it be if we could sell them for like $22? He's I was like, do you think anybody would buy them for $22? He's like, I don't know, let's try it. So we raised it to $22 and nothing changed. No conversion change. Sold the same amount. So we just doubled our money. I was like, this is amazing. This is amazing. And so we're buying these for $5 or $6. I was like, what if we get them from China for $3? That means we save $2, get them landed. So we start shipping in all these flashlights. We start selling. Come to find out, post 6 months now, we've raised the price to now $56. We're buying the flashlights for $3, landed from China, buying them through Alibaba, shipping them as fast as we can. We're flying them over, in fact, because we can't
Get them fast enough.
We can't get them fast enough. We can't wait for the boats. So we're literally buying UPS airplanes. And we're shipping, that whole UPS airplane is us. We're buying planes to get our product into St. Louis because we need to ship them out so fast. And so Facebook's working really well. They love us because we're spending tons of money on there. I go to Traffic and Conversion Summit with Perry Belcher, Ryan Dice. Perry Belcher knew us from a little thing that we did with him, affiliate marketing. Okay. So he's like, hey, you guys, you need to know this guy over here. So this guy was named Brian. And I was like, okay, let me go meet Brian. So I go meet Brian. He's like, what do you guys do? I was like, oh, we got this really cool product. It's a flashlight. And I said, what do you do? He goes, oh, I do dedicated emails. I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. And I said, how's that work? He goes, oh, you just pay me, some money, and then I send out an email from our services, and then bada bing, bada boom. If you make money, great. If not, well, I'll help you out, right? I'll make it work for you. So come to find out, I said, how much are these emails? They're $10,000 to send. I was like, holy smokes, what if it doesn't work?
Yeah, of course.
And he goes, but what if it does? And I was like, that's a good point. So I gave him $10,000. I put it on a credit card, and we're just we are
praying,
sweating bullets, right? And so we're actually in Hawaii, and we're sitting down in Hawaii. We're at dinner, and we know when this thing is supposed to go to blast off, right? Oh no, this is previous, so it worked. So we did the $10,000 first. This is right, $10,000 first. It worked, and I said, Brian, that worked really well. Let's do more. He said, perfect. I go, how much is more? He goes, $80,000.
There's no 10,
Nope.
20, 40,
Not
60?
that day there wasn't. So I was like, okay, I don't got $80,000. He goes, well, all right. So I'm like, Bryson, he needs $80,000 to do a full send. And we kind of talked about it. I said, who's going to give us $80,000? And about that time, I'm watching TV and American Express comes on. And they're like, hey, by the way, we have unlimited spending and we do all these really cool things and get a credit card from us. I was like, that's our in. So I call American Express. I was like, hey, I need a card, and they sent one, and $80,000. And I was like, Brian, this has got to work, or else I don't know how I'm going to pay this credit card back, for real. So he said, oh, it should work. It worked on 10,000, it'll work on this. And I think it was 2 million emails we just bought. So that's Hawaii. So now we're sitting in Hawaii. It's dinner time. We know when this clock is supposed to send, right? And we have our at that time, we have these little, it's called the Boxcar app. And we knew when a sale comes in, it goes ka-ching, ka-ching, it makes a little ring sound. It's kind of cool. So we're sitting there with our phones on, literally loud, speaker, and there's 20 of us, and it's just so loud. Everybody's having a conversation. But me and Bryceland, no. We're just
you're just watching.
We're just sweating,
yeah.
right? We know this needs to happen, and we see the timer hit. We're like, okay, that's the send. That's the send time. We know it's going out. Let's watch our phones. Nothing's happening. And I'm like, whoo, we are screwed. And I was like, holy smokes. I started getting red faced, really scared, really nervous. Because no one knows that we just put $80,000 on a credit card and we're about to be totally out of business. And all of a sudden this little ka-ching comes in. I was like, whoop, we got one. Oh. There's one. There's $56 order. And it was ka-ching. I was like, oh, there's another one. Ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. And it starts stuttering. It goes, I was like, holy smokes, this is crazy. So Bryceland and I run back to our room. I have a picture of this. It's freaking hilarious. Bryceland is in the hotel room. He holds the phone up and he stands on one leg. And I'm like, I'm taking a picture because it's so funny. I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, wait a minute. Boom. We just made $1,000 while my leg was up in the air. And I was like, that's awesome. That's epic. That's amazing. And so the next day I call Brian. I'm like, Brian, bro, that was epic. that worked. We made our $80,000 back. We're set. We made profit. Let's do that again. He goes, again? I was like, yeah, again. Let's keep, how can we buy more? He goes, that was it. What do you mean that was it? He goes, we did a full send, buddy. Like it's all my emails. That's all we can do. Okay, now what? And I was like, dang, that was cool, I guess. But that was fun. Like, made, some money. And I didn't know what to do next because we did Facebook, we did dedicated emails. Like, what do you do after that? My mind's not big enough yet to know what's next level. And so I call Russell Brunson up. I'm on the phone with him. I tell him the whole story. He goes, oh, you need to call my good friend. Now we call him Uncle B. His name was Bernardo. And he's like, talk to Bernardo. He did something crazy for me back in the supplement days. And if he can do a quarter of what he did for me, for you guys will be set. All right, let's call this dude up. So I call him Uncle B now. I call Uncle B up. Uncle B, Russell said, say hello. And we got an offer that he said that, maybe we could work out. He goes, all right, what is it? I said, it's flashlight. Okay, what's so cool about this flashlight? I said, I don't know, it just lights up. It's kind of cool. And he goes, and people buy it? I said, yeah, people buy it. He goes, I cannot take this to my my market because they will literally laugh at me. He goes, there has to be something, a reason for people to buy it. He goes, how do you sell it? I say, well, we just say, hey, do you need a flashlight? And they say, yes, and they buy. That's it? I'm like, yeah, that's it. He goes, Trey, this will never work. This will not work in our market. I don't know why Russell ever sent you here. I was like, well, I mean, he said that'd be cool. Like, can we at least do a test or something? He goes, yeah, but you're gonna have to pay for it. I'm like, okay, how much is that? He's like, $10,000. I was like, what's up with these guys with $10,000? And I was like, all right, well, that's cool. I was like, that seems a little steep for a test. Like, I'm used to Facebook ads like $100 a day, not $10,000 a day. Like, you guys are big players. And I'm like, all right. So I go back to Bryce. I was like, he wants 10 grand.
I want to stop you for a second.
Yeah.
You say you're big players. What did that feel like there in that moment where you're like, like I'm here running $100 ads or $500 ads, and then like every person I talk to, they want $10,000 to even start. What's going on in your head at that moment?
That feels like taking my whole life savings and going to the casino and placing it on red. That's what it felt like. Like, why would I be? Am I naive or something? Like, who are these people? It's like when you see a private jet go by, you're like, who's that guy? What's he do? Right? And so anyways, that's what it felt like. But it's a risk, it's a chance.
Of course.
And the numbers don't lie. And so he goes, well, if it worked for the email, it worked for Facebook, maybe it's worth a chance, but you got to pay me because these guys aren't going to pay for this flashlight to sell. All right, cool. I'll pay the 10 grand. So it's 2 days. 2 days go by. And I get a phone call. It's Bernardo, Uncle B. And I was like, hey, what's up, Uncle B? What's the news? And he goes, Trey, this is going to be huge. I was like, all right, cool. I don't know what huge means. Like, what's huge mean? Like, that's kind of like saying, oh, that dude's crushing it. Like, all right, what's that mean? I don't know. What are you crushing? Like, what doesn't have a value or a number to it. I have no clue what huge means to Uncle B. And so anyways, I was like, all right, cool. Roll out. He goes, you want to put a cap or a limit on it? I was like, no, let's just go. Just, blare on. All right, let's do it. And boy, was that the wrong thing to say. Because he went full steam ahead. And that's how we did, I don't even know what the number was, but it came out to over $20 million within a 3-month period of some sort of just items that we're selling through our funnels and everything. Just it's a massive ripple effect. And that's why when Russell gets up there and says Trey launched one of the largest funnels of all time and the most volume in the short amount of time through ClickFunnels, that's what he's talking about. He's talking about that. And from that effect, we learned a lot. We learned exactly what our market wants. We built a 1.8 million person database that we later sold to, later called, later text, later emailed, did all these cool things to monetize the database after. But the ripple effect of that was amazing to watch and unfold. And I gotta tell you, the coolest thing about that was, we learned what the model is. We learned what it takes to go from 0 to, 20, 30 million, right? In a year time. So we have the model, we have the cookie cutter, and now all we do is we go and cook cookies.
Right. The same key opens the same door over and over again.
That's right. It's finding those products, figuring it out, taking those products to market, and then using a very scalable launch sequence to take it to market, and making sure no one finds out.
Love it. So that's what you're going to do with this bag, I'm assuming.
Let's do it.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, first of all, for
Hey,
being
man.
here. That's
Appreciate
amazing.
it. Yeah.
Any tips that you want to share with the audience, besides the great tips you already have?
Yeah, so Let's talk about a couple things. Some pretty cool tips. I'll tell you two things. The first tip is, market first approach versus a product first approach. So, one thing that we do notoriously is when we bring in students, you said you mentor people too.
Correct.
So what I see a lot is a lot of people go out and do a product first approach. Okay, they're like, they build a product, they put something together, and they go fly it out to the market, right? And they hope that it sticks, if you will. I've been kind of studying AJ Kubani right now, who is the founder of Telebrands, which is As Seen on TV, which is now Bulbhead, right? One thing he always states in his interviews is his success rate is 90 or 10%. He gets 9 losers for every 1 winner.
Okay.
So it's a 9 out of 10. So he has 9 losers out of 10 trials, right? Of just throwing spaghetti at the wall to get it and hope that it sticks, right? So that's like a product first approach, like just hoping something sticks. Right. The opposite to that is what I like to do. I like to go out and do a market first approach. And a market first approach is building a stadium full of prospects, a stadium full of leads that are within a niche or within or a certain avatar, right? Like think of building like a 60,000 person database of Cardinals fans. Mm-hmm. And you get to stand at the middle of the field and behind a podium and say, hey, what do you guys think about this cool baseball bat? And I'll say, raise your hand if you love this, don't raise your hand if you hate it, right? Mm-hmm. So like, we hate it or we love it. Or what about this baseball? Or what about this really cool card? Or you
use your market, your list as a kind of a research tool to see what is the next thing for you.
Mm-hmm. Another way to put it is look at it as a petri dish. So we add chemicals, right? You got a little petri dish, everybody's in there. We add little chemicals to see what makes them react. Mm-hmm. If they react, we know it's a good set. We know it's a good product, and then we take it to market. Because that's only a little micro crumb of the entire niche, right? The entire audience. We got 60,000, but we know that it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 million people wide or deep. That's how we find that first product. So we do a market first approach. So we take that, find the product, then we launch. So we use a market first approach versus like a product first approach.
Like me.
Yeah. See how the difference? Mm-hmm. So that's what we would do. But you've done your research, right? You've gone out and you've looked at what do my fishermen want? What do my
I definitely, I'm a marketer, so I understand finding your niches, seeing what the needs are. The first bag I built primarily for myself.
There you go.
I built it for me and my family. Mm-hmm. And I have the crowd there too, because I'm in a ton of groups and know people. But this was literally your second thing, right? This is a market research thing. It's like the audience is there. He stuck it in front of them. Mm-hmm. They liked it. We developed the bag for them.
And it's proven concept because you've sold it.
Correct.
So now what I would say to you is you have a way higher success rate because you've shown that there's life within your funnel, right? Within what you're offering. And that was the second piece I want to give you guys is a lot of people think that a funnel is going to be their savior, mm-hmm. right? Oh, if I can only build a funnel, I will be saved, right? If I log in and put an order form together, people will come and buy. And I can say that's farther from the truth. It is the offer, mm-hmm. right? It is their desire. They don't want to buy your product. Mm-hmm. They want to buy what your product does.
Right.
Okay? So that's the one. Those are your two biggest takeaways.
Features versus benefits.
You got it. Yeah, the desire. Like, what do they desire? And it has to be their desire at that point in time. Like, their desire, their want. Like, what's going on in their head to make them want to buy this product.
Love it. Where can people find out more about you? Because they need to.
Yeah, cool. So we actually have free trainings. So we have 50 free trainings. You just go to TreyLewellen.com. I think it's /50, or maybe it's 50freetrainings.com. I really don't know. Just check out TreyLewellen.com. You'll find it.
It will be in the comment section of this
I don't even know where the free
video.
trainings are. It's somewhere. You got to find it.
It'll be there for you. Now I got to sell some of these bags. So see you on the next one.
Let's sell these things.